Okay, so you could say that truth is innately kind, like inherently kind. You could argue that truth is kind by default, simply because the essence and purpose of it and the energy of it seeks to and does cut through and therefore destroy the illusions that have been or that exist to disempower people. So when people speak truth, it's very rarely, even if they speak it kindly or gently, the energy of truth, the essence of truth is very often cutting. In other words, it's not sugar coated, right? And some people perceive that because it makes people uncomfortable, it cuts through the bullshit, right? So some people might perceive, just try not to get run over, might perceive that as unkind because it's shocking to the body, because it disrupts their internal systems, because it causes dissonance anywhere where they are not, or anywhere where they're under an illusion, right? Or anywhere where they're not free, anywhere where they're plugged into a false system that is actually disempowering them. So when you get somebody who speaks truth as they see it, very noisy, I do apologise, but this message has been burning through me all the way down, so I thought, why not now? What is there other than the now? So when you hear truth, or it comes, say, through the family or in a relationship, or sometimes it cuts like a knife, doesn't it? The truth hurts is the old saying, but actually it's just shocking. It disrupts the internal systems that are not true. It disrupts the bullshit. But to me, it is inherently kind. It's kind on a much greater level, because it's not pandering to that illusion. There's a lot of toxic kindness flopping about. I've been talking about empathy and the empath template for years. It must be about 5 years, because it was before I met my partner. I started to sense this need to dismantle the wounded empath template, and looking back, that was probably me coming into my journey with my Chiron return, because I would have been about 45 then, and anyone who, your Chiron return happens at the age of 50, and it's basically the healing of the wounded empath, and that's a core wound for a lot of humanity. So it started to come to me that it's a template within all of us, sensitives, empaths, right? We've all been conditioned in the wounded empath template, which is essentially a power leak. So, and now, I mean, someone described it. I listened to something the other night, and he described toxic empathy. And this is what I'm really seeing really clearly, very clearly actually, in all places and spaces in the world right now, is this presence of what is a really good way to describe it: toxic empathy and toxic kindness. Because where we're functioning from a wounded empath place, or a distorted version of kindness, which normally comes from an inability to speak one's personal truth, actually now it's causing something in the field which is actually causing it's a toxic ripple now, Because what's happening in this convergence, and I keep saying this word, convergence, right now, of timelines. It feels like all timelines, and they always were, all timelines are always present at once, because there is no time. Linear time is an illusion. So you could say that all timelines have always been present in the now moment, and that is a truth, right? In the absence of linear time, everything's present in the now. But now, at this axis of change, this threshold of change of consciousness, 2025 has been wild. It's like the tipping point of change, right? So in this experience of humanity and humanity's consciousness right now, we can really feel like beyond, past, present, everything. We can feel this convergence of time in every now moment. Everything's available, and that's why a lot of people are suffering, because they haven't built up the resilience and the discernment to make a choice in any now moment. So they're confused and feeling very confused. So everything's present right now, and where we are still in old patterns is really quite painful. And old patterns, you know, one of the massive old patterns is this wounded empath template, where we've been basically, empaths and sensitives have basically been conditioned to serve others before themselves. Now, the problem that this is causing right now, and it's actually causing a backfire, it actually is causing a toxic ripple in the field. Whereas we used to be able to get away with and feel quite validated, our ego would be validated by people pleasing and making out as if we're helping others by putting them first, making out as if we are helping others by being, they're kind in that way. Actually, what it's doing now is robbing them of their opportunity to clean up their own karma. In other words, the opportunity to take responsibility for themselves. Everybody in this climate, in this environment, in these now moments, in this energetic reality, everybody is required to take responsibility for their own karma. So where we are trying to mop up through this unconscious patterning of old, where we are still people pleasing, still jumping in to fix others, still with this old version of empathic giving and niceness, we're actually enabling others to stay exactly where they are. We're not giving them the opportunity to take responsibility for themselves. And what I'm witnessing is actually a lot of toxicity in this whole niceness. If people are too truthful, too what's perceived or felt as ruthless or unkind, there's a reaction. You can feel it in people, you can see it, and a judgment like, you're not being very kind because you're not still enabling other people, or you're not still perpetuating the nice peaceful silence that's been cultivated. But actually what's happening in that non-peaceful silence is there's a lot of fucking toxic shit that's getting ignored in that space. There's a hell of a lot of bypassing that happens in the space of being nice, because in the nice space there's a lot of silence, and in the silence there's a lot of condoning and consenting to bullshit, to abuse, to darkness. So where people are too afraid to speak their truth, where people are too afraid to call someone out, there's a lot of fucking dark booky shit that people are getting away with, and it's being perpetuated, and that basically means that we're still consenting to it. So I'm calling out nice. We don't do fucking nice. Nice schmice. What is nice? My love, my compassion is truth. That is the new love. Because where there is no truth, there is no love. True love is unconditional consciousness, which is transparent. It cuts through the bullshit. That isn't always nice, and it isn't always felt as nice, and I'm well aware that my light isn't for everybody because it is too truthful. It's too close to the bone for some people, and that's okay. No one is for everybody, and I'm not trying to be. But what this world needs now is truth. If you think about all the dark things that are being exposed, we cannot create a new world, a true world, from or with all this toxicity that's buried and allowed to carry on in the dark spaces. And a lot of the time it's allowed to carry on because people ignore it. That cannot be anymore. So the first point of call is calling it out. We don't have to be we don't have to do it from an attack defense. We're not doing it from the shield wall or the old attack defense energy anymore. It's simply staying in integrity with self. You speak truth to stay in integrity with yourself. And in that, I mean, think about all the abuse that's happening of people. Abuse everywhere. Trafficking, children, women, people being manipulated and abused. That requires truth to be spoken for that to be exposed, and it has to be exposed for it to be dismantled. So watch where anywhere at all where this toxic version of empathy and niceness is playing out, and watch all the systems, people's energy around it that essentially protect it through their silence, through their inability to call it out, to see it for what it is, and to speak it out loud for what it is in truth. That's not being nice to somebody. I mean, do we want to still be nice to the abusers? What the fuck is that? No. So I'm calling out toxic empathy and toxic niceness because I hold a container, a light, a truth, which is here to protect, to truly protect, nurture, and have compassion for the people that are vulnerable, the people that are being abused in this world. Do not need they don't need fucking niceness. They need truth, they need strength, they need respect, need equality. They need people with the fucking strength of heart and courage to stand up and speak what they see, to stand for what's right. I love you.